When you think of two cities that people often travel between in the United States, quite a few come to mind. Of these cities, there are a few remaining ones that aren't connected by rail, but one of the most untapped markets is Los Angeles to Las Vegas, a 300-mile trip that currently has no passenger rail at all. For today's episode of High Speed Rail Week, we'll be connecting the City of Angels to Sin City by High Speed Rail. Right now, if you wanted to get from Los Angeles to Las Vegas using public transit, the only option you have is Greyhound, which takes 5.5 hours and costs you $40 and whatever medical bills you may incur from the diseases you might be infected with on the bus. Other than that, you can drive yourself, get an Uber or a taxi that'll cost you all the money that you would gamble away in Las Vegas, or you could fly, which is also pretty expensive. This vital route at one point was connected by a train, but that train, Amtrak's Desert Wind, took a whopping 7 hours to get between these two cities, and that's assuming it was on time. As you would expect, this service was cut in 1997, and since then there has been no passenger train to connect these cities. Over the years, ideas and concepts had been thrown around regarding a high-speed rail connecting the two cities, but like the high-speed rail slated to connect Northern California and Southern California, it was probably bound to be stuck in a planning stage forever unless a private company picked up the project, as opposed to the government starting construction 40 years behind schedule. Luckily, in 2005, a private company known as Desert Express set out to do just that, build a high-speed rail link between Los Angeles and Las Vegas. Planning began in 2006 with environmental impact studies and a construction plan. This project was to be split into two phases, Phase 1 being the line between Las Vegas, Nevada, and Victorville, California, a small city just north of San Bernardino located a little over an hour northeast of downtown LA, and Phase 2 being the line from Victorville to Los Angeles. By 2010, Desert Express had calculated that the line would cost $5 billion to build between Las Vegas and Victorville. Project planners said that the project would be funded through private investors, but they also applied for a loan from the government. By the end of the year, the route for the service was planned and approved. This new route was to be built as an all-new track mostly between the two lanes of I-15, which was already a straight route from Victorville to Las Vegas. Construction was planned to begin in early 2012 and to be completed in late 2016. As 2012 came closer, Desert Express ran into more and more problems regarding funding as the load still wasn't approved for many reasons. More years came and went with even more talk and yet no action to back it up. Desert Express was rebranded to Express West, now with plans to build a high-speed rail network that connected Arizona, Utah, Colorado, in addition to California and Nevada. By 2015, Express West still hadn't secured the funding from the government and decided to look for alternative funding. Express West and China International USA, a group of Chinese rail companies, announced a joint venture project to finally construct the line that had been in planning since 2012. Of course, not before long, this plan fell through too. At this point, it was 2016, and if construction had started 4 years ago when it was originally planned, the project would almost be done. The project continued to struggle to find funding until 2018 when a new investor came along. This time it was Fortress Investment Group, the same company that owns Brightline. On September 18, 2018, it was announced that the project would be taken over once again by Fortress Investment Group, and construction would finally actually begin in mid-2020. Additionally, the project would be rebranded again, this time to Brightline West. Brightline laid out a clear plan for what construction was to be done, and soon enough land had been purchased for both stations for Phase 1 of the project, with the Las Vegas station being just south of Las Vegas International Airport and about 10 minutes from the heart of the Strip, and Victorville Station, which was to be called Victor Valley Station. The specific location of this station is still to be determined. The entire line between these two stops would be electrified and double-tracked with a maintenance facility north of Victor Valley, and the tracks would be built between the two lanes of I-15, the interstate between LA and Las Vegas. Building tracks next to highways is something Brightline is also doing in Florida for their all-new line between Cocoa and Orlando, which I discussed in the last episode. I think this is an ingenious way to build a high-speed rail because not only is the highway straight enough for high-speed trains, but the land is already basically cleared, it's better for the environment, and it's cheaper for the railroad to purchase. This line is expected to be completed by 2023 with service beginning between Victorville and Las Vegas in 2024, and unlike most American high-speed rails, this one might actually be built on time, as Brightline has a pretty good track record in terms of timely project completion. After Phase 1 is complete, construction will begin for Phase 2, with station stops at Rancho Cucamonga, and finally Los Angeles Union Station. At this point, it's unknown what exact route trains will take, and even when Phase 2 will be completed, as right now, Brightline has barely even started Phase 1. In addition to the line to Las Vegas, this project also includes a branch line from Victor Valley to Palmdale, which will connect to the dreaded California high-speed rail if that ever gets completed. After that, the possibilities are endless. As I said earlier, Brightline wants to look into expanding its system even further, which may mean this line reaching further east than Las Vegas, potentially even as far east as Colorado or maybe even Texas. Who knows? The possibilities are pretty much endless. Brightline seems to be the first competent private American high-speed rail. Their construction projects tend to stay on time, their trains are fast and clean, and the company itself seems to be managed by actual adults. So unlike when I hear politicians who know nothing about trains talking about California high-speed rail, I believe what I hear when Brightline says it wants to expand even further. It's nice to hear that the West Coast is finally getting the same amount of attention in terms of high-speed rail projects that the East Coast is getting. This concludes today's episode of High Speed Rail Week. This episode is part of a bigger series of 4 other mini-docs. Click the video on the left to see yesterday's episode and the video on the right to see tomorrow's episode. If you're watching this when it's new, there's probably no video there because tomorrow's video isn't out yet, so be sure to stay tuned for tomorrow's episode at noon Eastern. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Until next time.